What are some of the sabotagers of somebody, a woman in particular, for women in the workplace? What are some of the things that we do tend to do that can sabotage us?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I think not self-advocating, I think, is one of them. Always giving the credit to someone else and never stepping up and saying, I did this. I was an integral part of this.
So why do we do that? Because that just seems to be a natural inclination to do. Is that how we were raised? Is it a social conditioning problem? Why do we want to self-sacrifice, really, and give others the credit and do it over and over and over again to our own self-sabotage? Like, why?
You know, it's funny. I don't think that when we're doing it, we're thinking about it being a self-sabotage. I think it is something that for women who are in their feminine energy, that's how they were raised. Be inclusive, be a part of the group, make sure that you're sharing. I think it is a lot of how we're raised, and I don't think that we realize how detrimental it can be. And that's why I think discussions like this are super important. It is important to be inclusive of your team and honor those who have helped contribute to anything that helped you get towards success for a project, a team, yourself, but also saying, this is what I did to make sure that the key team members that need to hear what you're doing is really important, because again, this is something that men have no problem with. Right. Going out there and saying, hey, I did this, I led this team, I got this contract. Women have a tendency to we worked so great as a team to do this, that, and the other, not ever giving themselves credit. And it really is essential so that people know what you're capable of.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Banks Show, where you'll get tips, tools, and expert advice to help you live life to your fullest potential. Today, we have with us a very exciting guest. Her name is Stephanie Ritz. So today, Stephanie and I are going to dig really deep into the weeds about what happens to us as women in the workplace that actually prevents us from going as far in our career as we really could. And so Stephanie is going to help me shed some light in this area that really needs some light shed on it. And you might be surprised to learn some of the things that we talk about today. So if you're anyone that currently is working and would like to go further in your career, or you're thinking of maybe starting your own company, you're definitely not going to want to miss this. Stephanie, so nice to have you. Welcome to the show today.
Thanks so much for having me, Jenna. I'm so excited. I feel like we talked about this so long ago and we're finally here.
Finally, yay. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because, I don't think I've ever really had a conversation with a career coach. And I'm really excited to dive in and just learn all the wonderful nuggets and pieces of wisdom that you have to share with us regarding helping women advance in their career and, be able to rise up through the corporate workplace and all the wonderful things that you help women with. So I will start off by asking you a little bit more about what it is that you do. So what do you do exactly, Stephanie?
Yeah, perfect. So as you said, I work with women, and it's more of a career strategist, because a lot of women come to me when they're feeling stuck, stagnant, frustrated in their career, and they don't know where to go. So the first thing that we do is really get to the root of what it is that they want, because a lot of people don't stop to actually think about, what is it that I actually want to do? We fall into these patterns of work, and that's, just kind of how we pursue it moving forward. Just whatever job we're in, that's the path we go on. Sometimes we'll pivot into something in the same industry because that's now our comfort zone, but really diving deep into what it is that we want to do and how that aligns with our life goals. So not just a job for the sake of bringing in income, but really understanding, what it is that you want to experience every day in your life, not just, what am I going to do for these 8 hours a day to make the income to do the things that I want to do. So I really help women decide what path is going to be right for them. And then we create a pathway to growth so that they can take their seat at the table, whatever that looks like for them. And for some women, they decide that the corporate space is not for them. That's not where they're going to thrive and feel aligned in their life goals. those women want to leave the 9 to 5 and start their own business. So we, through working together, decide if they're going to grow or if they're going to go. And I help them with that transition plan to make sure that they have a solid business foundation in place and a financial and emotional plan to make that transition.
That's amazing. I love that you're there to help these women through that transition, because so many of us, myself included, have had to do those transitions all alone. And to have somebody who specifically focuses on helping with either, helping with the career advancement or making the transition into working with yourself, what a valuable person to have on your team.
Thanks so much.
So I know that you also are a big advocate of helping to promote equality in the workplace, especially when it comes to women. That is your particular focus. So I'd love to dive a little bit more into this particular topic, because it is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I'm all about women's empowerment and self-love and understanding the things that we do to self-sabotage, instead of believing in ourselves and helping our own career move forward. And so I'd love to just dive a little bit more into that topic with you. Now, you do some speaking on this as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really on Clubhouse, on Instagram, on Facebook, but wherever I can get a stage, even such as this one, to share the importance of equity among leadership teams is so important and crucial. So every opportunity that I get to really engage with people in this conversation, I love to take advantage of. Even from just a CEO standpoint, it truly can help your bottom line to have diversity of thought at your leadership table. And so it's not just making sure that you have diversity for the sake of making sure that you have equity among your team, but it actually does help your bottom line when you have diversity of thought, and you can't have that without diversity within your team.
Exactly. So true. So what are some of the things that you have found hold women back from advancing in their career within the corporate world or wherever they're working? If you could highlight a few of those, that would be great.
Yeah. I started Claim Your Career because I saw so many women not pursuing the dream job that they had their eyes and hearts set on because of lack of confidence and limiting beliefs that creep in. So confidence can show up in many different ways in our careers, and how that looks for everyone is different. So many women are intimidated by the fact that there aren't many women at the top. So when I can reach my hand down to pull up another woman, it's so important. And Claim Your Career was my way of doing that, making sure that women understand that there is a pathway. You don't need to play like a man. You can have a family and a career. And it's really just breaking down the things that are most important to you, understanding what your skill set is, and taking advantage of those opportunities, knowing that you don't have to know everything to take the next step in your career. So one of the major things that I see is women not pursuing opportunities because they don't have all of the required skill sets. And I just want to encourage all of the women who might be listening out there who are experiencing this to know that men will apply if they have even 40%, 50% of the skill set. And that's why oftentimes they're getting more opportunities. They're willing to take that risk. It's not a risk to apply for anything.
Yeah, that's I see that all the time. I was shocked when I learned that statistic, and it's unbelievable to me. I mean, that's a huge discrepancy right there. We're stopping ourselves at the pass because we look at a list of requirements and we don't meet 100% of them. And so we disqualify ourselves. Do you think that is the perfectionist side of us, that women tend to be perfectionists, and we look at that and when we say, well, we're not perfectly matched for this, and therefore we can't apply? Is that what that is, or where do you think that stems from?
Yeah, perfectionism is definitely one of the pillars of limiting beliefs. But then that confidence too. Confidence comes from knowing that you can do things, and that knowing comes from experience. So if you don't yet have the experience, there can
Mhm.
oftentimes be a lack of confidence, and then it's a non-starter. You don't actually take that next step to actually pursue the opportunity because you don't have the confidence to know that you definitely can do it. So that
So
ties into perfectionism, right?
yeah, exactly. So how would you overcome that? I'm so curious to know how you would advise your clients to how to address that, because that right there I think is that could be a huge game changer for so many of us women, just to know some techniques to kind of notice that limiting belief when it comes up. We're looking at a job, we say, "Oh my gosh, I'd really love to have that job, but I don't know this particular software program and I don't have 5 years experience. I have 3. What could you do to build up that inner confidence to at least get you to the point where you apply? Because as you say, there's no risk in applying, right?
Right. So, two tips. One is very basic, and that is do it scared, do it anyway. Just having the confidence to do it, it can be something that's really easy to say. Just go for it, just do it. But truly, as I said, there is no risk in just applying. And even if that's an internal conversation, have the conversation anyway. Honor the fact that you're scared and do it anyway. When you look at the risk reward opportunity there to have the conversation, you know, oftentimes the opportunity much more outweighs the risk of saying, well, no, you're not qualified for the job. Great. Now you know, now you can take your transferable skills to the next opportunity. And then the second tip would be this is literally why my profession exists. Work with someone who is in the industry that can really clarify what opportunities make sense for your skill set to pursue, because there are going to be some opportunities where the skills just are required. And if you don't have them, if it's something that's a passion for you and you really want to pursue, okay, let's start taking the action steps to pursue the things that you're missing on your resume to build it up to get to the point where you can apply for those opportunities. But having somebody to really reflect back to you what it is that's coming up for you that's stopping you from taking that next step or having that conversation with someone within your organization. How does it feel? Why are you feeling it? Let's drill down. Let's identify those limiting beliefs and start questioning. Are they true? Are they accurate? Is it worth the risk to ignore them and go for it anyway?
So I would love to talk about limiting beliefs because some people might actually be hearing that term for the first time, and I'm sure that sounds shocking to you, or maybe it doesn't, because perhaps you do work with clients who are like, "What? Wait, what are limiting beliefs?" I was one of those people until I saw a coach. Now, my coach was a relationship coach, but this was not too long ago, and I was like, limiting belief. Wait, what? I had no idea. Like once I was told what it was, then I just became so curious about them because they do creep up into our lives probably on a daily basis, no?
Yeah, absolutely. In every area of our life, it's a very natural human thing to experience it. A limiting belief is those thoughts that creep up in our own head that there is no actual proven information for to say, you're not good enough, you're an imposter, you don't deserve this. It's those internal thoughts that we're thinking that other people are thinking about ourselves, or that we're self deprecating in ourselves to say, this isn't right for you. Let's keep moving on. Let's stay safe and do what we've always done, because it's not worth the risk of being exposed as a fraud. So those are the
Mm-hmm.
limiting beliefs, and as you said, they creep up in all areas of our life. In that perfectionism, in I need to take 7, 8 different courses before I'm going to be good enough to pursue
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity. Those things saying, okay, well, I've only been doing this a year. I'm not good enough to be on a stage and speaking about this. I'm not
You're telling
knowledgeable
yourself
enough.
that. That's right. You are telling yourself that. That is nobody's telling you that. Maybe in that year, you've really proven yourself and you've got some talent and but you're cutting yourself off at the pass the moment you tell yourself, I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm not qualified. You are eliminating yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And this creeps up for men and women. Nobody is, not going to experience this in their life, but taking the time to really reflect on when it's coming up for you, why it's coming up for you, and starting to question, is this actually true? Or is this an assumption that I'm making?
Mhm.
Because comparison is another really big one that often will creep up for us in our career, especially for women in leadership roles, because there typically may only be one, two, or no other women in your field at that level. So if there is one other person, there's a natural tendency to want to compare ourselves to that one other woman who has made it this far. And this is what she's doing. She's doing it better than me. She's more eloquent. She speaks better than me. Like, all of those things will creep up as if our journey should mirror the person next to
Oh,
us.
so true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
it's good to be aware of that. These are things that we need to be aware of going into that, so that when it happens, you can go, oh, okay, I'm comparing right now. Why am I comparing myself to somebody else who's nothing like me?
yeah,
And we,
exactly.
yeah, and we also need to be comfortable embracing what we do bring to the table and do it confidently. And I think a lack of confidence a lot of times comes from that comparison situation where you're like, well, I'm not like that. Yeah, of course. If you're trying to compare yourself to that, you would have a lack of confidence because you're not that. So going into it, embracing, all of who you are, and just, loving, I'm all about self-love, loving yourself for all the talents that you do bring to the table. And then that will come across as confident. And there's your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And understanding also that your definition of success is your own. The person next to you is coming from a different starting space. Their dreams and goals are different than yours. Their skill set coming into it is different. You're not going to have the same journey as them, and you can't expect that your results are always going to be the same, even if you're doing all of the same things. You're two different people. And I think it's really important that women do reflect in their career on what success actually looks like for them. Because for some people, it's not being in the C-suite. For some people, it's not being a business owner. Some people just want to get to a certain level to say, this is the balance that I want in my life. I want to be able to work, 40 hours. I don't want to have to take it home with me at the end of the night. I want to be able to have my time with my family. And that consistency at that point in my career is all that I'm looking for to make me feel happy and fulfilled. Others want to skyrocket to the top. That is what success looks like for them, because they have other financial goals or significance goals in their life to say, I'm a VP at this company. This is what I'm able to accomplish at this level of my position. That is what is fulfilling for me. That's when I'll know I'm being successful, when I can be in a position to actually create change within my organization. So understanding what success actually looks like is an important part of the career strategy.
I like that, making it what's important to you, because a lot of times, if we don't know what that is, I think it's easy to get wrapped up in what's important for other people. And then you wonder, when you're pursuing this another position, this higher, this raise, or whatever it is, going up the corporate ladder like you think you should, and you get there and you're now not happy. You're not happy in the positions you're in. You don't like managing other people. But why did you go down that path in the first place? Well, was it really your own passion that led you there, or were you just mimicking what you think you should do?
Right. And I can tell you that I think especially women between the ages of like 35 and 65 who are still in the workforce often pursued, different career paths based on external expectations, cultural expectations. There was that idea you have to go to college and create a career, and you're not successful until you have the high-powered job and the family, the two kids, all of those things. And I'm really impressed with this new generation coming in who is really creating their own definitions of success. But I think having a strategy to make sure it's sustainable and really what you want for the long term is also really important.
Very good. I like that. So, what are some of the sabotagers of a woman, in particular, for women in the workplace? What are some of the things that we do tend to do that can sabotage us?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I think not self-advocating, I think, is one of them. Always giving the credit to someone else and never stepping up and saying, I did this. I was an integral part of this.
So why do we do that? Because that just seems to be a natural inclination to do. Is that how we were raised? Is it a social conditioning problem? Why do we want to self-sacrifice, really, and give others the credit and do it over and over and over again to our own self-sabotage. Like, why?
It's funny. I don't think that when we're doing it, we're thinking about it being a self-sabotage. I think it is something that for women who are in their feminine energy, that's how they were raised, be inclusive, be a part of the group, make sure that you're sharing. I think it is a lot of how we're raised, and I don't think that we realize how detrimental it can be. And that's why I think discussions like this are super important. It is important to be inclusive of your team and honor those who have helped contribute to anything that helped you get towards success for a project, a team, yourself, but also saying, this is what I did to make sure that the key team members that, need to hear what you're doing is really important, because again, this is something that men have no problem with. Right. Going out there and saying, hey, I did this, yeah. I led this team. I got this contract. Women have a tendency to we worked so great as a team to do this, that, and the other, not ever giving themselves credit. And it really is essential so that people know what you're capable of.
So 2 things come up for me there. Number 1, not wanting to do your own self-promotion. What do you think that limiting belief or fear is? Is it that we are afraid that it will come off as egotistical and we don't want to be that person?
Yeah, I think that that's part of it. You don't want to be braggy. You don't want to be that one who is discluding anyone else. How it shows up is, again, really personal for everyone. So for people who have experienced this, I don't think it comes from a place of, I want to self-sabotage. They're just always trying to include everyone else.
Which is sweet. It's endearing, but it doesn't help us in our careers. And we have to be aware of how it actually works against us in the workplace. I mean, if all the guys are talking about all the great things that they've done, which is true, and we don't find it strange that they do it, how can we be surprised, though, that they're the ones in these higher positions? Because people know about what they're up to. If they don't know, if your bosses don't know, if the owners or the CEOs or whoever's the next level up or the level beyond that has no clue about how much you've been helping, how could you possibly be recognized?
Yes, absolutely. And I think because sometimes emotional intelligence is lacking in the office, again, the nurturing embodiment of women who are in their feminine energy have that nurturing ability to just say, okay, let's all come together. We're all a team and be inclusive. But again, like you said, by not speaking up because you feel like you're bragging, you're hurting yourself. And I think that, again, this is something that I work with my clients on. How do you say things in a way that feels good for you? Because if it doesn't feel good coming out, it's not going to come out in a way that is empowering. It is going to feel exactly how you're feeling it in your body, like you're bragging. So I think being able to finesse your way into those conversations is important. And it's just one of those skills that, again, just isn't taught in when you're trying to rise in your career.
I never was taught that. So is there an example then that you could give us of an eloquent way to insert our self-promotion in a conversation? So let's say we're in a meeting, our department's in this meeting, maybe the head of our department's there, maybe someone above that is in there, and the team is describing, a project that was completed, let's say that, and successfully completed. Let's say you're a member of that team, and let's say you're speaking on behalf of the team. How would you go about making sure that you talk about what the team did, but also inserting some of your own self-promotion in there?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. There's kind of 2 ways, because oftentimes we're not the ones speaking. It's maybe someone above us if we're in that middle management level. And this is an actual true story. On a very large conference call with the entire company, we were being honored, the team, for all of the work that we did. And the EVP overseeing that area is the one who was saying, congratulations to this team. They all did an amazing job. We were able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And that's where you really need to step up and say, I am so happy I was able to lead this team and really be able to bring us all together to accomplish X, Y, and Z. I appreciated the opportunity to do this, this, and this. I had a conversation with this person that led to this, and we were able to close the sale. Also, team members X, Y, and Z were able to contribute in this way and that way. And as a team, We were able to close the sale, and I was really excited to be given the opportunity to lead this team in a way that felt empowering, and we were able to close the sale. And now we have a really great relationship that I think will lead to X, Y, and Z. So it's not discounting your team members and what they accomplished. It's honoring them for whatever it was, small or large accomplishments from your team, but also saying, thank you for the opportunity. This is what I was able to do and bring to the table. I appreciated the opportunity to work with the team. These are the results that I directly got from the things that I was able to do. And these are the things that my team members were able to support me on to make sure that we were, as a team, able to accomplish this. In doing it that way, you're honoring yourself. You're letting them know, this is what I did. I'm capable of this. And also, I appreciate all the support that I got from my team, whether it was small or a large contribution.
So you're giving to yourself and giving to others. And that is self-loving gesture, because you have to make sure you're looking out for yourself. And in life, you really do have to be your biggest priority. So that's you making yourself a priority in this situation where you also want to be acknowledging other team members. And I think that was so beautiful, the way that you gave us that example. And we just need to have this information. We just need to see how we can go about incorporating our own self-promotion in a way that doesn't seem egotistical, because otherwise I think we'll continue to run around with that dialogue in our head that says, oh, I can't say anything about what I did because it's just going to come off as cocky. But where did that thinking come from in the first place? That's really what really, like, where does that come from? Maybe it was a comment that was made when we were a kid, and maybe our mother said, oh, that girl really sounds cocky or something, and we made a mental note, don't sound cocky.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where, because we don't even question where these limiting beliefs come from. But it's really interesting when you really start to dive in and realize where they came from. It's like, wait, we're that easily programmed? That's a little scary.
Well, it's actually really natural. A lot of the beliefs that we have, our core beliefs in our system, happen between the ages of 0 and 7. So a lot of times we're not even really thinking about those subconscious beliefs that are sitting in us. And it's exactly what you just said. It could have been one comment from your mother, a teacher, a friend that helped you determine that, say, okay, acting like this results in this. This is how I'll be seen if this is the behavior that I pursue. And we've kept that in our subconscious for all of these years and made it a recurring pattern. So anytime we saw somebody who looked like they were giving credit to themselves and not others, it's an automatic feeling of that person's bragging, that person's not giving credit appropriately. And it's a negative feeling, and we don't want to feel negative about ourselves. So then we automatically are ingrained to not pursue self-advocating in that way.
Well, we also look for approval. We've been raised to look for approval in order to get love. And so if we don't come off as cocky, that it's a fear in our mind that we don't want to come off as egotistical, because we might not be accepted. Right. We might not get the approval that we seek, and therefore we won't feel as good about ourselves. Yeah. So it's that conditioning of seeking the approval, and the fastest way we know to get approval from old programming is, well, don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely takes some retraining, which is why the coaching world even exists, because understanding where those beliefs come from so that you can change the narrative, you have to go back and identify what that is, and then start recreating your belief system. And that's where affirmations and meditation and all of those things that you are often hearing about, that's where they come into play. It takes some time to reprogram ourselves to think differently and become a natural act of saying, I did this, I feel really good about it, thank you for the opportunity, and this is what all of my team members contributed as well, and I honor them for that.
That's right. And your energy and the way you say it also makes a difference. If you say it because you really are proud of yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. Like you
Right.
said, guys do it all the time and it works to their advantage. We can too. We just have to let go of all the crap that, is in our thinking process surrounding doing that. And once we can let that go and really embrace it, we can step into our confidence and own it and start to realize how much it really does benefit us to promote ourselves and self-advocate in the workplace. I do have an interesting story I want to share with the audience related to this. A friend of mine told me a really amazing story that I love telling to others because it's very empowering. She worked for, or still does, works for a large Fortune 500 company. And, for many years, she was just this loyal employee, having worked there for many years, wanted to move up the corporate ladder, thought that, hey, if I do this, I work hard, I put in these 10-hour, 12-hour days, take on all these extra projects in the department, take it home on weekends and kill myself, that at someday I will be recognized and appreciated and I will get promoted and raises because I see all these other people getting promotions and raises around me, right? So she kept doing that for years, and she just one day had this moment where it kind of snapped. Something snapped in her and she got angry. She's like, this is ridiculous. My bosses are all being promoted. I did half the work that my boss got promoted on. I'm just tired of this. And if this company won't appreciate me, then I'm going to move on. And so she got up the gumption to go into her HR department. And she was really ready at that moment in time to just she was so, I want to say, just upset and fired up, really. She was fired up to just be super transparent, super honest. So she's like, look, nothing's happening. So I'm just going to lay it on the line. And you know what? They'll probably fire me, or they'll probably say something that will make me realize I need to leave, because I probably need to leave anyway. So she goes in, she says, look, I did all this work and I've been doing this, and it's ridiculous that I've been looked over all these years. I really thought I'd be here by now. That's really where I want to go. And she was just fully transparent with what she had done in the department, but it was an explosion of, hey, I did all this, and it was like a lot all at once. But you know what? They didn't know. They didn't know, because she never self-advocated, and she never would do that self-promotion in the workplace, and just sat back and took it, hoping that one day somebody would recognize her. One day, maybe the boss would say, hey, so-and-so, I just want to recognize them. They've done all this work. No. People are looking out for themselves. And so I'll tell you, from that moment on, she immediately got promoted, got a raise, and it never stopped. In fact, now, she is this, I call her a baller. She is making more money than a lot of men in her similar position. She is killing it. She lives in a beautiful high rise looking over the city. And she says, you know what, Jenna, I really wish that I could settle into a position, because they won't stop promoting me now. They're like, oh my God, she's very serious, and we want to make sure we keep her, challenged. And, but she always stepped up to the challenge and loved getting the promotions and the raises, and made it into all these higher roles. And now she's in like an executive VP kind of a role. And I don't know how much further she could go from here, but it was all because she took that one move to speak up.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think what's really important about that story too is self-advocating, not just to your boss, but to other key decision makers in your organization, because sometimes your boss is not going to be your advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Your boss, just like you, has their own set of limiting beliefs. And it's unfortunate, but true, that sometimes bosses will be nervous that you are going after their job.
Mm-hmm.
But truly, they should be also going after their next step, or if they're comfortable where they are, making sure that there is a pathway for you to grow. So, that's not the case in all situations. So making sure that you are developing relationships and advocating for yourself with other key decision makers in your organization is really important.
Absolutely. Stephanie, how do you advise clients who are feeling stuck in their career?
Yeah. So if you have been waking up for weeks and months and feeling that dread in your stomach when it's ready to go to work time, it's time to make a change. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pivot out of your career. It could be just another opportunity that is the right one for you, but really seeking clarity on what it is that you want to experience in your life is the, again, crucial first step. Not every career path that you're on is going to be the long-term career path for you. I know a lot of people want to settle into something and say, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing for the next 30 years. But if you have that feeling, and it's not just a 1 day or 1 week bad feeling, but if it's going on for weeks and months, it's probably time for a change. So looking internally to get clarity on what it is that you want, what skill sets do you have that are transferable to a new opportunity or a new workplace, and really identifying what it is that is making you feel that way. Is it your company? Is it your boss? Is it the actual job? Is it the people management? So really getting clear on all of those things so that you can make an informed decision on your next step. And of course, I'm here to support you if you are looking for someone to help guide you through that process, because it really can feel overwhelming. Many years ago, I sought out my own career coach, and it really helped me gain clarity that the industry that I was in is no longer where I wanted to be. And so I did take action to pivot, and it turned out to be an amazing opportunity. And of course, now I have my own business. So, really getting clear, is corporate the right space for you, and why?
That's really good. Yes. You know what? People are so lucky to have someone like you on their side as a career coach. So, and a lot of folks don't even understand that there is such a thing as a career coach, but it can be a real game changer. You might spend years and years in the corporate workplace and going at a certain level, but when someone seeks counsel from someone like you, I'm sure it could just transform somebody's career and save them years of trial and error, no?
Oh, yes. I have helped women go from being serial entrepreneurs to being an intrapreneur in their own company, and that's what satisfied them. And others deciding after 20 years in the same company right out of college, they're finally ready to make the change to a different organization, which is a big deal. And then others, I'm helping a lot of women transition out right now. There's a lot of women who just want that entrepreneurial life. They're getting clear on why, and the expectations of what that's going to look like, again, is really important, because a lot of people don't know that, what actually goes into running your own business.
Oh, it's great that they have you on their side to help them out. So what guidance would you give to women who are struggling with career advancement and having a family at the same time?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to be very clear, again, on what you want, not anyone next to you, what your career success is going to look like. And there is no shame one way or the other if you decide that you really want to spend more time with your family and work part-time. If you want to pursue your career full-time, knowing that you also have a family, you can choose that. And there is a possibility for both options. So making sure that you're really staying relevant in your industry is really important. Staying connected with people while you're on leave. I don't say that you should be spending time working while you're on leave. That is your time with your family. But absolutely staying in touch with folks, making sure that you're staying relevant, and knowing that if you are committed to your career and your advancement, making sure that you're spending intentional time to set boundaries around your career and your family. And going back to the story you shared earlier, you don't need to work 60 hours a week to get promoted. People are leaving at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. The men certainly are. The women should be too. Asking for the accommodations that you need for your family, knowing that while you're at your job, you're giving your all. And that's the expectation. You don't need to work 60 hours a week to get ahead. You just need to make relationships, stay connected, self-advocate, stay relevant in your industry, and make sure that you're really cultivating relationships and not letting them go to the wayside, because those are your keys to promotion.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that about working too much and killing yourself and not prioritizing other things that might need priority, whether it's your family or your health, working out, the things that you need to do to have a balanced life. It's really important. And killing yourself at the office, it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Exactly. I promise you, you still can get promoted and have amazing opportunities and just work your 40 hours a week. It is possible.
Before I let you go, I have one more question I wanted to ask you earlier, but I'll get it in now, which is, how do you feel about women in the workplace doing duties that aren't necessarily in their job description? For example, and I'm going to relate this back to the story I told you about my friend who finally spoke up for herself and realized that all that killing herself at the office was not helping her. She just needed to promote herself and stand up for her own value. But so are there some things that we do in the office that aren't in our duties as women that can actually work against us?
Yes, I have experienced this personally. And
Please
it is
tell.
really, really important that you are pointing out the inequities, just like your friend waited until she was at that breaking point to go to HR. If you see that only the women are being asked to answer the phones or cover the phones, if only the women are being asked to take care of ordering in the lunch or taking care of travel accommodations, you need to point this out as an inequity, because perhaps that is at your level an appropriate thing to be doing for your organization. But if there's men in that same role and they are never asked to do those same things, you need to speak up about it. You need to make sure that you are doing the jobs that are in your responsibility category. And if you are being asked to do something, your male counterpart should be doing the same exact activities. And if they are not, it has to be brought up, because it is going to hurt you. You are going to be looked at as someone who is going to take care of things as opposed to leading things.
And guess what? It also loses respect.
Yeah.
I found that you lose respect in the eyes of those in management positions and also male counterparts. They just think you're now an easy doormat. They're like, oh, that's where she is, and I can ask her to go do the coffee run and she'll do it. And I've got a book coming out soon, early next year, but I have a whole coffee story in there, which we won't get into here. But it was, the expectation of Jenna, you're going to go get us all some coffee when I didn't want any coffee. And I'm like, oh, I don't want any coffee. I'm good. Thanks. And I didn't think anything of it, but it's really important to be at that place of, look, I don't, why am I being looked at to go and grab the to-go food or, make the order or set up the kitchen so everyone can eat? It's a natural tendency we tend to want to do as women, I think, but we have to realize that doesn't really have a good place for us in the workplace, per se.
Absolutely. 100% accurate. And having those conversations is important, and making sure that you're doing it in a way that you're not just saying, no, I'm not a team player, I'm not going to do it, but saying, I'm happy to support the team in that aspect, but I want to point out that this is, become a situation where you're only asking me and I'm a female, and you are not asking my male counterpart, and I'm not comfortable with the inequity that's happening in this office.
Or another way maybe to say it is, you know what, I did that last time, I think I'll pass this time. Yeah. And just pass. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today, Stephanie. And how can those who are listening or watching the web series get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website is claimyourcareer.com, and I am at Claim Your Career pretty much everywhere, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Stephanie Ritz. And I can't wait to hear this podcast and watch it on your YouTube channel. Congratulations to your book coming out. I'm so excited for you, and I look forward to connecting more with your listeners.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jenna.
I just loved having Stephanie on today. Wasn't she a wealth of information? If you think you could benefit from having her as your own career coach or to help you transition from your career into starting your own business, I definitely recommend checking out her website at claimyourcareer.com, and you'll see all the different services she offers. Or you can also just sign up to get her free newsletters, which are chock full of wonderful information. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And remember, your love is your power.